Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition. This is Remo Smackdown live on YouTube and StreamYard.com. It is Google MF, Michael Fletcher, alongside Anthony Florio and Michael Bullock. Guys, we're just going to dive right in. So we started it off with SmackDown Live, a promo segment by the new SmackDown Women's Champion Becky Lynch, interrupted by a whole host of people: Bianca Belair, Zelina Vega, Carmella, and Liv Morgan. So it ended up being a 2-for-1 because then we ended up having a fatal four-way where the winner would receive a future SmackDown Women's title match between Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, Carmella, and Zelina Vega, and it was an elimination format. Zelina Vega was the first to go out. Carmella was second to go out. That led Bianca and Liv to the final two. Bianca Belair wins the match in 12 minutes and 10 seconds. As far as the promo goes, it was basically what you expected, cookie cutter. Basically, only the three who really stood out in this entire segment, honestly, Becky Lynch, Bianca, and Liv Morgan. Carmella didn't really do anything to increase the needle for me. Neither did Zelina, even though I love Zelina very much. And really, it was really shown in the elimination match with Carmella and Zelina being eliminated early on. So there was no big surprise there. But if there's a future contender, once the battle between Becky Lynch and once the battle between Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair is done, keep your eyes on Liv Morgan because she really had a coming out tonight and she looked amazing. Even though she lost, and I think that the outcome was never in doubt. But I'm gonna say it, Liv Morgan probably gained a lot of stock tonight, and definitely is now, you can easily say, maybe could be the one waiting in the wings right after her war is done. Once we have Bianca and Becky go at it, depending on how long Sasha's gone, maybe Liv Morgan could be the next in line. So I think right now you could say it's Bianca, the number one contender. You can easily pencil in Liv Morgan at number 2, pending on when Sasha gets back. And then you get 3, 4. And then the other thing that needs to be noted about, maybe we can talk about, would probably be Naomi, because she made her debut on SmackDown, or her return to SmackDown. But as you could tell, didn't really get much of a response. Well, at least from management. If you heard the fans, they were very happy to see the glow come back on SmackDown Live. So that's going to be very interesting. So, Anthony Florio, it's all yours. It was a good segment, not the greatest.
It was a clunky opening segment that provided the anticipated return of Becky Lynch, but little else. Why did it have to involve Zelina Vega and Carmella, who have lost repeatedly in recent weeks, and Liv Morgan, who has not been featured since prior to Money in the Bank? And the fatal four-way that ensued is nonsensical in that only Belair really has an argument for a title opportunity. And where the hell is Toni Storm, who debuted back in July but has not been seen since? The women's division on SmackDown desperately needs depth, something it will not get if the plan is for everyone outside of Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch to lose every week. There was a silver lining in this, and that was Becky hinting at a full heel turn by denying Belair a match, basically doing the Rock and Goldberg situation. Nah, that's basically what it was, and definitely conjured up those memories, no doubt about it. So that's the segment. As far as the match goes, I got to give this about 3 stars. I mean, the match was better than it had any right to be, thanks to the bit of storytelling involving Zelina Vega and Carmella, then the babyface battle between Bianca Belair and Liv Morgan that had fans invested all the way to the finish. Outcome was never really in doubt, but the crowd's reaction for Morgan really should force WWE officials to re-examine her placement or lack thereof on the show. She is so passionate, and the fans genuinely care about her. Give her something to do, even if it is outside of the title picture. The one big issue with this entire setup is that by way of her win here, Belair proves she can be ready for anything, including an impromptu four-way bout. So if that is the case, any attempt made by WWE to spin her loss to Lynch as her not being ready or prepared loses its credibility. Those penning this story need to think about it before throwing this sort of self-defeating segment on television. But a very, very good match here, no doubt about that. Solid 3 stars for me. So not much more to say. Phenom, Michael Bullock, come on in. We had an abbreviated Smackdown chat this evening, 50-50 show, as far as that was concerned. But at the end of the day, though, the EST, she's getting her rematch. The only question is, when are we going to get that rematch?
I think we're going to get it at Extreme Rules. That's just what I think when I think it's going to happen. So, as far as the segment goes, I mean, yeah, it was fine. I mean, I know they hinted at Becky Lynch being a heel, especially after denying Bianca Belair a rematch. But here's my only problem with this. Anthony knows how I feel about it. Fletch, I don't know how you're going to feel about it. But I just don't see her working as a heel because, remember, she's over with the fans. I mean, the fans love her. I mean, remember the last time they tried to turn her heel? It literally blew up in their face. So, to me, WWE's really going to have to do something to make this heel work. I mean, wouldn't you agree, Fletch?
I will say this. I would probably say right now, absolutely, you're right. When she first came out, you heard the thunderous roar, you heard the cheers. But did you notice the minute she brought up SummerSlam, the fans started booing her about it? So it's gonna have to be one of those things where, and even after she said no to Bianca, you heard there was some boos. So I think WWE is gonna have to be very subtly. They're gonna have to ease this one, because if you try to go full bore on this one and say that she's a full-fledged heel, it's not gonna work. The fans are gonna reject it. It's gonna have to be something in the way of maybe. I think they're gonna have to do the Roman Reigns approach. I really think it's gonna have to be that way, where they're gonna have to embrace it. There's gonna be a way where you're gonna have to embrace it, but I don't know. This is a dangerous situation.
WWE's walking a fine line with this, so they need to execute this perfectly, because if they don't, it's going to blow up in their faces like they did 2 years ago. I mean, wouldn't you agree with that, Fletch?
I agree. I mean, but the thing was that back in the time, remember who they had? They had Charlotte Flair. That's the reason why I don't think it worked. This could work because there are a lot of people that love Bianca Belair. And you hear the chants of EST. I think you need the right heat. You need the right face for her to get the heel. So I think Bianca's definitely one that you can work with. Liv Morgan is definitely someone that you can work with, because fans are going to rally behind them. And they are already rallying behind them. I think what WWE would have to do is they got to find really good baby faces that can really get the sympathy of the crowd, so that if Becky should play her heel role, she will get booed. I think right now, they're doing it the right way by giving her Bianca. And then eventually when Liv gets her shot, people are going to go crazy for Liv. You just have to play it right.
I agree with you there, because And like you said, Fletch, I mean, the only reason why it didn't work was because she was working with Charlotte Flair. Maybe her with working with Bianca and maybe Liv Morgan, that could work out differently. But like I said, they got to be very careful with it because it could blow up in their faces again if they don't go about it the right way. So just have to wait and see on that. And as far as the match goes, what did you give it, Fletch? I was just so much into this.
Well, Anthony gave it a 3 stars. I'm gonna follow suit and give it a 3 of my own. So, Bullock.
Yeah. All right, I'll give it a 3 as well. But I mean, having Bianca and Liv Morgan in there, I mean, I'm fine with obviously with those two. But why does Carmella and Zelina Vega? Why should they be in there? I mean, because Zelina hasn't proven anything to be worthy of a chance at the SmackDown Women's title, and certainly as hell, Carmella has had so many chances, as far as I'm concerned. So, I think Bianca going over was the right move. So, and I think, like I said, I think Extreme Rules is when I think we're going to see these two go at it, and we're finally going to get the match that we were hoping to see at SummerSlam. So, we'll wait and see how it all goes. So, 3 stars for me on the match and the promo. I did like it, but like I reiterated, if they're gonna make this heel for Becky Lynch work, they need to do about it the right way, or WWE is gonna have some problems. Fletch, it's yours.
All right, the next thing we had was Cesaro versus Chad Gable. The fight gets thrown out. Cesaro wins by DQ at 2 minutes and 35 seconds because Big Otis decided to jump the Swiss Superman, which I don't mind. I mean, the match wasn't really that amazing. We're not going to get into it, gentlemen. And what I believe is that I can't wait to see Otis versus Cesaro. That could actually be a decent fight. That could be a decent match. And just to see Cesaro do the Cesaro swing on that big guy, that's going to be a highlight moment in itself. So then we have promo segment, Happy Corbin. So I guess if you've been following Baron Corbin on social media, most notably his Instagram, you've noticed that Corbin actually ran into some good luck. I guess going to Sin City was the thing he needed it to do. Started winning a little bit of some money, got a little cash now in him. And he tried to bribe Big E out of the Money in the Bank contract. So much so that I think Corbin actually offered him, if I am correct, he tried to offer him up to $100,000. He tried to offer him up to $100,000. So Corbin, that is definitely interesting. I think what it was that they didn't want people to sympathize with Corbin because of he was supposed to be a heel out of this whole thing, Anthony Florio. So it looked like what they did with the bum-ass Corbin gimmick was that I think they realized they were making a mistake because all of a sudden Corbin was getting over with the fans. Now they do a complete 180 where Corbin literally has a redemption story here, a la DDP, when he became the Lord of the Ring, when he won the Lethal Lottery from Slammiversary 1996, 96 or 97.
Yep, that's correct. Happy Corbin is challenging for the best thing in WWE right now, thanks to his character work. Thanks to character work infinitely better than anyone knew to expect from him. But bum-ass Corbin was fun television that saw one of the most hated heels in the company get his comeuppance. Now the redeemed Corbin, still a bad guy, but happier, is equally as fun. The idea that money makes him happy and he's too rich for negativity is a great bit and should help him continue to stay over with audiences that have taken to his character more in the last 2 months than it had during his entire run as the King of the Ring. So We'll see what happens with Big E down the road. But for right now, fine segment here. So I got no complaints about this. So Bullock, let's get your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I'm actually fine with this segment too. I mean, it wasn't. I'm not going to say it was the greatest, but I thought it was a fine segment for what it was. I mean, like you said, Corbin basically being happy, obviously offering Biggie $100,000 for the Money in the Bank. So we'll wait and see how it all goes. But somehow I got this feeling that Biggie's not going to fall for Corbin's antics, and because he wants to hold on to that Money in the Bank briefcase. So there's really nothing more for me to say. Fine segment. Fletch, it's yours.
All right, then the next thing that we had was a little backstage thing. It was a little bit of a vignette between Edge and Seth Rollins and Michael Bullock. I got to admit, man, Rollins and Edge, it doesn't seem like it's over by a long shot, but my goodness, the promos by both men, pretty powerful.
Yeah, the promos by both men were definitely strong. Obviously, Edge feels like that he's done with Rollins, and that his next thing that he wants is the Universal title. That he felt like it should have been his. But something tells me, like you basically said, Fletch, I think Rollins and Edge are far from done. So, because Rollins he's going to want another match with him. So, there's really nothing more for me to say. Fletch, Edge, he may be done with Rollins, but I don't think Seth Rollins is done with him.
No, most definitely not. This was by far the best fight out of the SummerSlam, and even Dave Meltzer gave it a 4.5 star rating. So I mean, you want to talk about the best match of SummerSlam, and definitely worth 7 years to wait for. This was excellent. This was a great battle. There was really nothing more to add there. It looks like adding yet another chapter, Anthony Florio. No, you can unmute. It looks like they're going to add another chapter to this rivalry, but it's probably going to be sometime down the line. Not now, because Edge has his desire at the Universal title, and Rollins, well, he's going to have to take a minute just to kind of regroup after his SummerSlam loss.
Positively, and I'll tell you what. I don't know why, but I got this feeling that they might be saving this for Extreme Rules, and I think if they do that, there's only one match that this match can be.
Under Extreme Rules?
This match should be contested under Extreme Rules. So that's how it should be. And if they do that, you thought the SummerSlam match was great? Just imagine what those two would do under Extreme Rules. Think about that for a minute. Match of the year candidate for sure. So yeah, the vignettes were fine. Both men were great, and it ain't over by a long shot. So maybe we'll see them in Columbus next month. We'll see, depending on what WWE wants to do with the Universal picture. So there isn't much more to say on this. Fine for what it was. So let me see, what do we have on here now? All right. Before I give it back to you, MF, there is one thing that needs to be addressed, because the next act, two guys who, one in particular, who happens to be a personal favorite of SmackDown color commentator Pat McAfee, and unfortunately, yeah. This past Wednesday, I believe it was Michael Bullock that reported this in our messenger chat, that if you didn't hear the news by now, Pat McAfee unfortunately tested positive for COVID-19, despite the fact that he's fully vaccinated, mind you. And yeah. I've been following his social media, and I've been wondering what I was mainly following to see if they were going to address who was going to sit in for him. And tonight, Corey Graves made his return to SmackDown, and on top of that, we also got Kevin Owens out there as well. So, and I was expecting Corey Graves, I really was. I had a feeling it was going to be him, but I did not think they were going to add KO to that as well. That was a nice little twist. But anyways, the reason I mentioned Pat McAfee is, well, we know, and I mentioned this to Bullock, and I'm hopeful that MF will get a little chuckle out of this when I say it. But I know Pat McAfee's a married man.
Yes, recently married. Yes.
Yep, but I can make an argument that I think Pat McAfee has, I got to say, somewhat of a man crush on Rick Boogs, and I kind of do because ever since he debuted back in May, every single time he's been on there, he's not only gushed over him but also gotten down with him. And,
yes,
and they got down and they got funky. Last Saturday night at SummerSlam, they had a little impromptu moment there, and unfortunately, Mr. For the Brand ended up getting what he calls Uncle COVID.
Uncle COVID kicked his ass on this one,
big time, to the point where I read today that he woke up in a pool of sweat, literally.
Yeah.
Boy, that breaks my heart to hear that.
Yeah.
But I mentioned that because we all know he gushes over Rick Boogs, and you could say he kind of gushes over Nakamura as well. But it's really Rick Boogs, to the point where, me being the funny haha here, I call it a bit of a man crush thing. I really do. So, but anyways, I mentioned that because Rick Boogs and the King Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion were in tag team action against former SmackDown Tag Team Champions in their own right. Memphis, I give it back to you.
Yeah, against the Dirty Dogs. Just to give you a heads up on McAfee, because I do watch his Pat McAfee show. That is on YouTube, and if you guys Sirius XM Mad Dog Sports Channel 82. Basically, he did mention it on his on the show that it started on Wednesday morning. He did call out on the show. Then later in the day was when we found out that he did test positive for Uncle COVID. COVID got him. Fortunately, the Toxic Table and his boys on the radio show did not get it. His wife did not get it. And anybody affiliated with WWE did not get it. So it was only just him and him alone. He is fully vaccinated, like you said. He actually showed on his site 3 COVID tests where he tested positive and a temperature check of 104.5. So he was in real bad shape. There's been days where he's looking good, and then there's days where it, like you said, Anthony, he was like literally in a pool of sweat. So I mean, he is definitely fighting it right now, and our thoughts and prayers are with Pat McAfee right now. Hope he makes a speedy recovery. He was going to be off SmackDown anyway next week because one of his boys from the Toxic Table was going to get married anyway. So he was not going to be on SmackDown next week anyway. That was one thing that we found out. He actually posted that or talked about it on his show. So we were going to lose McAfee next week regardless.
At least for 2 weeks. And if it's just for the 2 weeks, if he gets cleared to come back, that would be 2 weeks from tonight.
Garden.
It's September 10th. And guess where that show's going to be?
Garden. Madison Square Garden, New York.
Do you imagine if he returns in the world's most famous arena?
Yeah. He's gunning for it too.
What a moment that would be for him.
He's pushing for it. He's gunning for it. He's trying his best to try to get to the Garden. That's the ultimate dream of his. He wants to get to Madison Square Garden. He wants to be in that New York crowd. And you know that New York crowd is going to love him. So, yeah. By the way, speaking of Rick Boogs, him and Nakamura went up against the Dirty Dogs, Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler. And Boogs and Nakamura wins the match in 9 minutes and 45 seconds. Better than expected match. I thought it was going to be not as good. But again, another showcase fight for Rick Boogs. I really liked it. Well done. This is another maybe 2.5 to 3. Anthony, it's yours.
Agreed. 2.5 to 3. A good, solid, inoffensive tag team bout that put the spotlight on a popular mid-card babyface act in King Nakamura and Rick Boogs without taking anything away from the team they beat. Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode are great professional wrestlers and absolutely have earned better than what they have been given of late. But they are pros who can be counted on to make opponents look good without diminishing themselves. This was a lot of that and little more, as SmackDown officials appear to be smitten over Boog's act just as much as Pat McAfee is, to the point where I keep saying I think he's got a damn man crush on the guy. But that's just, all kidding aside, though, 2.5 to 3 stars. So, Bullock, we talked about it during our abbreviated SmackDown chat, and when we saw Nakamura and Boogs, we were like, man, we wish Pat McAfee was there.
Oh, yeah, because Pat McAfee is just so freaking entertaining, especially when Boogs and Nakamura come out, and where he literally gets down with them, especially on top of the table. And yeah, I mean, go figure, guys. I mean, and Florio knows this. I mean, it was literally a year ago where I basically couldn't stand Pat McAfee, and here it is a year later. I mean, I'm really liking him, especially in his new role, and especially when he really gets down with Rick Boogs. So yeah, 2.5 to 3 stars. I mean, this was definitely a much better match than what I originally expected. So nice win for the two of them. So there's really nothing more to say. Let's move on.
Next up we had was Dominic Mysterio. He went up against a mystery opponent. Surprise, surprise. It was Sami Zayn. And Sami Zayn wins the match in 8 minutes even. Anthony Florio, it's yours.
Yeah. Well, don't look now, but lame duck man Sami Zayn actually won a match clean without cheating or controversy. This was a great start to Dominic's road to singles glory. For a young superstar who has not had a ton of experience in one-on-one action to this point, a win over an accomplished in-ring competitor like Zayn should not be expected. Sure, Sami has seen his role on the show diminished of late, but he is still a former Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion whose in-ring skills are never in question, whether you like the guy or not. Being a relative rookie and beating him is nearly impossible. This story feels like one destined to end with Ray and Dominic embroiled in a heated father versus son feud. But for now, the idea of Ray giving Dominic the opportunity to be his own man is a nice start. So don't worry, the implosion's coming. I think we saw the first signs of that implosion when, after the match, Ray tried to console his son, but Dominic was like, no, leave me alone. So, yeah, so not much more to say. I would probably give this about 2.5 to 2 3/4 of a star. So not much more to say. Michael Bullock, I think we finally got to see the first cracks of that long-awaited Mysterio implosion.
Yeah, we definitely saw the first signs of that potential implosion with the Mysterio. So 2.5 stars is my rating. So yeah, there's really nothing more to add to it. So Fletch, it is yours.
Yeah, 2.5 stars, no doubt about it. Well, I spoke about it first. So on in the main event segment, which was the Bloodline, the celebration. Paul Heyman doing a lot of the talking, but then was interrupted by Finn Balor. Balor comes out, demands a shot at the title next week against Roman Reigns. Apparently, based off the brouhaha happening, we're going to get it next week. Balor versus Roman for the Universal title. But there's also one other point that needs to be addressed. The Street Profits going after the tag team champions. Okay, Anthony Florio, there's a lot to unpack here in the closing moments of our show.
And I got some news in just a moment. But first, just like that, we have 2 feuds to build around on the road to Extreme Rules on September 26th. not only is Finn Balor versus Roman Reigns a world title feud that can dominate the top of the blue brand, while WWE waits to book the tribal chief against Brock Lesnar, but the Street Profits against the Usos is a relatively fresh program that can rejuvenate a tag team division that was bogged down by repetitive rematches. An energetic, eventful end of the show is what this week's broadcast needed. While it may not have featured Brock Lesnar to pay off his shocking return at SummerSlam, it does plant the seeds for the upcoming pay-per-view, and that is always a good thing. And I just found out, gentlemen, that I just found this on WWE's Instagram account that it is confirmed. Next Friday night on SmackDown in Jacksonville, Florida, Roman Reigns will defend the Universal Championship against the inaugural Universal Champion, the Prince, Finn Balor. Michael Bullock, in the immortal words of the late, great Regis Philbin, how do you follow that? My gosh. Segment of the night, by the way.
Yeah, this was the segment of the night. I mean, obviously Roman was getting ready to gloat in his glory after defeating John Cena at SummerSlam, and all of a sudden Finn Balor basically comes out and says he wants the Universal title opportunity next week, and then he starts going after Roman, but obviously the Usos, no surprise that they assisted Roman, but then, like you said, the Street Profits come out to help out, and yeah, I mean, Street Profits and Usos for the SmackDown Tag Team titles, I could definitely go for it. But yeah, Florio, after everything happened, we were wondering when was this going to be official? Well, we thought maybe they were going to announce it on Talking Smack, but now that you found out on Instagram, it is now officially confirmed. Roman against Finn Balor for the Universal title next week as the road to Extreme Rules continues. And somewhere down the line, we're definitely they're going to start slowly building Roman Reigns defending the title against the Beast Incarnate Brock Lesnar.
I now have an idea of when I think that match could happen. I don't think it's going to be at Extreme Rules. I know I might be reaching for this, but I just found a possible scenario here, guys. As far as when they could do Roman and Brock, I got two words for you: Saudi Arabia.
Arabia. Yep, that's what I was hearing too.
Yeah, I definitely could see that happening. I could definitely see that going down in Saudi Arabia, and at the Crown Jewel event. So yeah, I definitely and all I can say is to Paul Heyman, you got some explaining to do to Brock Lesnar. So nothing else to say. Fletch, it's yours.
Yeah, no, this was there's really nothing more to add. So yeah, solid way to close the show. Michael Bullock, overall review, and then we'll get into AEW.
Yeah, I thought it was a good show. I mean, could have been better. Absolutely, it could have been better. So I'm gonna go 6.5 to 7 when it comes to this edition of SmackDown. So Fletch, it's yours.
A solid 7 for me, no doubt about it. It was a good show. There was definitely some good things coming out of it. Anthony Florio, what's yours?
I'll make it unanimous. 7 out of 10 for me as well. It was all about the SummerSlam fallout, and it did well enough in that regard. They covered a bunch of stuff, and you can see where a lot of things are going. Finn Balor getting his title shot next week leaves them open for maybe a fatal four-way at Extreme Rules, along with Edge and Seth Rollins, maybe. And then Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns in Saudi Arabia, which is the most likely destination for everyone. The rest of the show was mostly talking-based, but they hit the big stories well enough to make the show work. 7 out of 10, so not much more to say. MF, let's get on to this week's edition of AEW Rampage, which, oh, by the way, marks the first taped show in the Rampage era.
Yeah, it was. It was from the UWM Panther Arena in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we started it off, well, with the long-awaited match, the Lucha Bros versus Jurassic Express, the number one contenders for the AEW tag team titles on the line, and the winners will get to fight at All Out against the Young Bucks inside a steel cage for the AEW World Tag Team titles. It will be the Lucha Bros winning the match at 12 minutes and 47 seconds. This was an amazing opening match. You could easily say this was your fight of the night. This was an unbelievable matchup. This went great ring psychology, everything else. I'll easily call it 4. This was a 4-star match. However, the wrong team went over. I'm sorry. I love the Lucha Bros. I think they're going to be that match with them and the Bucks is going to be out of this world. It's going to be nuts. But for everything that has happened with Jurassic Express, this should have been their moment. This should have been the moment where they should have gotten the title shot. We've seen Lucha Bros and Young Bucks before. We have not seen Jurassic Express versus the Bucks for the titles. So I really, really, really feel like AEW missed an opportunity here tonight. An incredible match. However, and I think Anthony Floyo, you can agree with this, the wrong team went over here tonight.
Positively, MF. Positively. No doubt about it. I agree with you on everything. This was the fight of the night. 4 stars. I 100% agree with it. If you want storytelling and psychology in your matches, this one is not for you. If you like tag team moves and high-flying spots, this bout will make you happy. Both teams had several standout moments, especially during the later part of the match. Jungle Boy looked more comfortable than ever in the ring, especially during the moments when he was working with Rey Fenix. The Lucha Bros and Young Bucks have had a handful of memorable encounters, but the heel babyface dynamic was reversed back then. It's going to be fun to see if their next bout feels different as a result. But yes, MF, as I said Wednesday night on Mayhem, I went on the record and I really honestly thought that the Jurassic Express was going to win the match and get the title shot based on how they've been booked lately. But no, they gave it to the Luchas, and I'm even going to go as far as to call it a WWE-like move. I mean, you have a chance to build up a young up-and-coming team, but they decided to give it to the more established veteran tag team. Very WWE-like, if I'm going to be honest with you, because that's exactly what they do. They give title opportunities to more established workers, whereas we want to see the younger, hungrier worker get the opportunity, but they decided to give it to the veteran team here. And obviously, the thought of seeing the Young Bucks and the Lucha Bros in another spot fest on the pay-per-view stage, I think Tony Khan had a little got a little too jizzy, if you know what I mean, and I think it made Tony Khan jizz his pants a little bit thinking about it. I think it was salivating at the thought of that. So I wouldn't be surprised if this outcome was his call. So the thought of that made him salivate, and he's like, I want it one more time. I know the Jurassic Express, they're more deserving, but I want to see those two tear it up one more time. So it's been a while. We want to see that. We want to see it again. Yes, we do, but at the same time, you know how much we have a problem with repetitiveness in wrestling. And of course, no show is more notorious for repetitiveness nowadays than Monday Night Raw. Even though this past Monday's Raw was not as repetitive as recent weeks, but don't worry. Eventually, it will get back to that point. But for right now, the match was amazing. A great match, 4 stars, no doubt about it. As great as the match was, Michael Bullock, as I give it to you, as great as the match was, even though we like the Luchas and we have a lot of respect for them, they had no business winning this match. Jurassic Express should have won this match.
I agree. I mean, and the thing is, it's nothing against the Lucha Brothers. I mean, we have nothing. I mean, we respect them. We think they're a really good tag team. But yeah, I think the Jurassic Express should have gone over here. They should have been the ones challenging the Young Bucks for the tag titles at All Out. But you know, it is what it is. Fortunately, you always can't get what you want. But don't worry. Jurassic Express will get their shot eventually. It's not a matter of if they're going to get it. It's just a matter of when. So, 4 stars, fight of the night. Let's move on, Fletch. And I don't know if this is the part where you may unleash hell on someone.
I will be, you know what? I'm not gonna get into it because I do not want to lose my cool tonight. So I'm just gonna bypass the segment. Um, but I will say Miro will get his by Eddie Kingston at All Out. We'll go there. Next up we had was Ty Conte versus the Bunny. The Bunny wins the match in 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Anthony Florio. Well. What an outcome here. The Bunny gets a huge win over Ty.
But she didn't do it alone. She had help. Oh,
Yes,
boy,
she
did she
did.
have help.
Yes, she did.
Oh, boy, did she have help. Penelope Ford distracting referee Aubrey Edwards, allowing the Blade to slip Bunny the Nux, and bam, knocks out Ty Conti, and Bunny gets the win. Obviously, to give Bunny some momentum going into that women's casino battle royale, which will be on the buy-in for All Out 9 nights from now, and the winner of that battle royale will earn a future women's title opportunity. 2 stars for this. This was a decent match with some good physicality, but it never felt like it left second gear. There was no urgency to what they were doing. The Bunny winning with the brass knucks was a nice heel move that would make NXT General Manager Mr. William Regal proud. Penelope Ford's inclusion felt, from a professional standpoint, it felt unnecessary, but it looks like she has formed some kind of alliance with the Bunny to give them an advantage on the Casino Battle Royale. I think that's the only thing about this. I don't think Penelope Ford is a full-fledged member of the Hardy family office, but I think this is more of an alliance, an acquaintance type deal. But as a red-blooded American male, I mean, seeing those 2 beautiful dames together, oh, Tony girls, Fortune girls, there is no doubt about that. I mean, that's all I can say.
Whoa, Florio, slow your roll, man.
I know, Bullock. I know. I'm just having fun. That's all I'm doing. So, just having some Jesse fun here with this. So, that's what I'm doing. So, but the 2 of those dames, seeing those 2 beauties together, oh, hard eye emoji and then some. That's all I can say about that. So, but all kidding aside, 2-star match. But Michael Bullock here, as I give it to you, like I said, I don't think Penelope Ford is a full-fledged member of the HFO. I think this is just more of an alliance and an acquaintance type deal going into that women's battle royale, casino battle royale at the All Out buy-in.
Yeah, I can definitely. I see that too. I mean, but yeah, I mean, as much as you say you like the Bunny, but you got to admit she's crazier than a pet coon, as JR would say. I mean, yeah, 2 stars for the effort here. I mean, a nice win for the Bunny, but like you said, she didn't do it alone, thanks to some help from Penelope Ford. But yeah, I mean, you got 2 women with 2 different sides. Penelope Ford being her ego's so big it needs its own zip code, and the Bunny, well, let's just say, like I said, she's crazier than a pet coon, and I'll even say something that JR said about Mickie James back at WrestleMania 22. And Flurry, you know where I'm going with this.
I believe I do.
I'll tell you what, Bunny. There is one thing you need: lithium.
Yep.
That's what it is. So there's really nothing more for me to say. Fletch, it's yours.
All right, and then we're gonna get on with the final match of the evening. Mike Bullock, you get to lead us off. It was a tag team match, as it was Christian Cage and Frankie Kazarian. They went up against Brendan Cutler and Kenny Omega. Christian Cage and Frankie Kazarian wins the match in 8 minutes and 15 seconds. Bullock is yours.
This would be about another 2.5 to 3 for the effort here. I mean, obviously you want to give Christian Cage some momentum going into the AEW World Title match at All Out. Obviously, Kenny Omega left his partner high and dry, and left Brandon Cutler to be the one to take the beating here. So, yeah, no big surprise when it comes to that. So, there's really nothing more for me to say. Fletch, Christian Cage picks up some momentum, but Kenny Omega left his partner high and dry.
Yeah. I mean, it was expected. I mean, this was an okay main event. I think 3 is a little bit of a reach there. I could give this like 2.5 to 2 3/4. It was fun for what it was worth. It was definitely there. But the outcome was never in doubt. Obviously, they want to protect Omega, so they're gonna do everything in their power to protect them. They give Christian Cage the moment, which is good. But as far as anything else goes, we'll wait and see what happens. It was fine for what it was worth. Anthony Florio, you get the last say on this part.
Yeah, 2.5 to 2 3/4 of a star. I agree with MF's rating on this. This match had more of a story to it than the tag bout we saw at the top of the show. But it fell short in providing as much excitement, which is saying a lot considering who was involved in the main event. Kenny Omega plays a great cowardly heel when he wants to. His performance here made it seem like he fears Christian Cage, which is exactly how this should be booked, since Cage beat him for the Impact title already 2 weeks ago. Brandon Cutler was the comedy relief, so whether you like that thing or not will heavily influence how those of you out there would rate this match. But for me, I'm leaning more towards MF's rating on this, 2.5 to 2 3/4 of a star. So not much more to say. Let's get into our overall review.
It was a good show. I could give it a 7 out of 10. I thought it was a decent event more than anything else, and there's really nothing more for me to add. So, Anthony, it's you.
This episode of Rampage exceeded my expectations, mainly because you know how I am about tape shows. You know how I'm not really all that jazzed about tape shows. But, and you know, I'm always worried that tape shows would lack the juice and the energy of live shows, and especially the first 2 live shows of this series. But that didn't happen, and the wrestling tonight was great to good. While the main event was fairly missable, if you have at least 15 minutes, if you're pressed for time, seek out Jurassic Express versus the Lucha Bros. And if you don't think it's breathtaking, there's obviously something wrong with you. Only 1 week until All Out. A few things need a touch more heat on it. Will we get that? We'll find out, because it's go home week next week. all of the programming next week will be at that Now Arena in Chicago. Dynamite on Wednesday, Rampage next Friday, which will be back to a live show, and then of course the All Out pay-per-view on the Sunday. So very exciting week of that. Very exciting go home week for All Out, and you gotta love what AEW does with pay-per-views. I mean, we only get. I think they should keep this up. I mean, it kind of reminds me of when WWE used to have just the Big Four back in the day, which left us, which always left us feeling more excited about pay-per-views and made them feel more special when they came around. Of course, nowadays WWE does a damn show every month. A little too excessive, but it is what it is. But I like this formula that AEW does, and now we got a huge pay-per-view to look forward to, and I could probably say it may be the most stacked pay-per-view card I have ever seen in the short history of AEW. So very exciting, and every match except there are only 2 matches on the All Out card, even though one of them's on the buy-in. The women's battle royale, that could be a cluster bleep. The one match that we're all very worried about, of course, would be Paul White against QT Marshall. That's got dud written all over it. But every other match on that, and maybe even the women's title match with Britt Baker and Chris Statlander, but all the other matches on that card have potential to be show stealers. So, especially what we added to it tonight with a possible Be a Man fight with Miro and Eddie Kingston. So for that TNT title. So, but a very exciting week coming up with pay-per-view. So that's all I can say on that, and that's all I can say. And that's why you gotta love AEW and the way they put their pay-per-views. They only do 4 a year, and every time we come across one, it leaves us salivating and wanting more. That's what a good wrestling company does. So not much more to say. 7.5 for me. So Michael Bullock, close it out before MF gets into his very special Mikey's Mindset here.
Yeah, 7 out of 10 for me. Yeah, I mean, this was a good show. I mean, obviously the fight of the night being the Lucha Bros and Jurassic Express. I mean, everything else was fine, but yeah, definitely looking forward to the upcoming week leading up to the All Out pay-per-view. And yeah, with the exception of those matches, I mean, every match is looking really good. I mean, some of the matches I'm really obvious. I mean, I'm looking forward to a lot of them, but obviously I'm looking forward to the AEW World Title match. But yeah, the World Title match could be good, but there's one I'm really fixated on. And yes, somebody else in my family is looking forward to this one. And Florio, you know where I'm going with this. It's CM Punk and Darby Allin, and you know why.
Cousin Tori.
Yep, my cousin Tori. I know she's going to be wanting to look forward to seeing her man wrestle for the first time in 7 years. So I know she's going to be excited to see CM Punk back in action. So yeah, there's really nothing more for me to say. Fletch, if you're ready, it's time for your Mikey's Mindset.
Basically, this weekend is all about NWA. So here we go, guys. We started it off on Saturday. Yeah, tomorrow night. It's NWA Empower. This is the first ever all-female pay-per-view event from the Chase Ballroom in St. Louis, Missouri, and we have ourselves a 9-card fight card here. So we have is Blue Sky going 1-on-1 versus Christy James. Then we have Kenzie Page going up against Paula Mayfield. And then in this match is an interpromotional. 3 companies are going to be involved in this. Chick Tormata from AAA, Diamante from AEW, and Kylie Ray, Smiley Kylie Ray from NWA. Then we have an NWA Women's Invitational Cup gauntlet match. And this one is very important because the winner of this match will get to fight for the NWA Women's World Title the next night on the 73rd anniversary special. The participants is Bianca Carlisle, Chelsea Green, Debbie Malenko, Lady Frost, Jamie Segal, Genocide, Kara Hogan, Marisha Slamvich, Thunder Kitty, and Tuli Lynn. Then after that, we have ourselves the semifinals for the World Tag Team Championship Tournament, as we will have in one semifinal the Hex, Allison Kay and Marty Bell. They will go up against Hell on Heels, Renee Michelle and Syria 7. And then in the second semifinal match, it will be the Free Babes. Now, this is basically this is like their version of the Fabulous Freebirds, but there's 3 members, Jeezy Yang, Hollywood Haley J, and Miranda Gordy, but they will be going up against Kylan King and Red Velvet. And the winners of those matches and the winners of those two fights will get to fight in the final later in the evening. Now, the two most highly anticipated matches of this card, the first one has to do with the Impact Knockouts Championship. Anthony, you know this one really well because you've seen a lot of it on Impact lately. Melina Perez goes one-on-one versus the reigning champion, the Virtuosa, Deonna Purrazzo.
Yes, indeed. And I got to tell you, the build for this, I've been seeing the build on Impact Wrestling over the last couple of weeks. And I got to tell you, they've been doing a great job with the build. I mean, the build has been great. I got to be honest with you. As of right now, Deonna Purrazzo right now is my front runner for Female Wrestler of the Year. And rightfully so, because, she has ruled over the Impact Knockouts division with an iron fist. And who knows how far she's going to go with now that she's got Matthew Waywalt, formerly Aiden English, now as her little heavy there. So who knows how that's going to work out. Could lead to even bigger and better things for her. And she's on a roll. She's on the roll of a lifetime. I mean, she's held that Knockouts title for several months. And, of course, recently she won the Reina del Reyes title at the Triple Mania with that huge win over Fabi Apache in that winner-take-all match. And it would be a hell of a story if Melina were to somehow win this. It really would. I mean, 42 years old. She's definitely put on some weight. That's all there is to say on that. She has put on weight. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, Melina has. And she's a bit of a work in progress. I mean, she does have a little bit of some ring rust. I mean, the match that she had, that little tune-up match that she had against Brandy Loren, formerly Ava Story, that was a little on the side. It was kind of, she looked a little rusty there, but I think if anybody could get a good match out of her, I think Deonna Purrazzo is just the one to do it. And I think it's got potential to be a great matchup. And at the end of the day, MF, until somebody beats the Virtuosa, nobody, and I mean nobody in their right mind would dare go against her. I know I won't. So for me, in this case, for me, the winner and still the Impact Knockouts champion, my front runner for Female Wrestler of the Year, and I wouldn't be surprised if she ends up winning that award when we get to our year-end award show. It's the Virtuosa. It's her world. We're just living in it, and we're paying the damn rent. So, not much more to say.
And then, of course, the main event for this show for the NWA Women's World Title, it is the reigning champion Camille. She will put the title on the line against legit Layla Hirsch from AEW. So that will be on tomorrow night. And then on Sunday night is the 73rd anniversary special. Once again, from that same place in Baltimore. In St. Louis. And this fight card we have, we started off with Mickie James going one-on-one against Kylie Ray. Then we have another match. This is going to be what they call the Brawl in the Lou. Tom Lawler versus Crimson versus Tim Storm. Then we have a 6-man tag team match as it's Titus, the Masked Man, and John Clearwater. He will go up against the Pope, Addison, and Paolo of the End. Then there's supposed to be a battle royale to determine the number one contender for the NWA North American National Championship because of the fact that, and then we will have our big fights of the evening, of course. Whoever wins the Women's Invitational, the gauntlet match, will fight the winner of Camille versus Layla Hirsch for the NWA Women's World Title. Then we also have the NWA World Tag Team Championships on the line as Idol Stevens and JR Chaos. They go up against La Rebellion, Besta 666, and Mecha Wolf 450. Then the two big matches of the evening, Chris Adonis putting the national championship on the line against James Storm. And in the main event, Nick Aldis, the national treasure, will put the 10 pounds of gold, Sweet Charlotte, on the line against Trevor Murdoch. But this is a big fight for Trevor Murdoch. He puts his career on the line. If he does not walk out the NWA World Heavyweight Champion, he will retire from professional wrestling. It doesn't get any bigger than this. This is going to be a huge weekend, to say the very least. And folks, we are done for the night. So Monday, we do it all over again on Ridiculously Raw. Anthony will host it. Raw, 205 Live, Impact Wrestling. And we got a great week coming up, as we will now fully be entrenched in All Out Week. So this episode, so next week, we're going to be previewing All Out. Thank you so much for watching. For Anthony Florio, from Michael Bullock, I'm Michael Fletcher, saying so long, everybody. Have a good night. We'll see you guys on Monday.